So my goal for today, as we go through all the different ways you can generate a lead in your real estate business, because trust me, there's a lot of them. My goal for today is for you guys to leave understanding what type of investor you are so you can decide what type of lead generation you're going to really go after. We don't have unlimited time. We don't have unlimited money. Maybe one day, right? But as it is right now, we want to be efficient with our money that we spend. One of my students, Steven, asked me yesterday on one of our strategy calls. He's like, "All right, well, this is what we're doing with our VA, Matt. What's the biggest? Where am I getting the biggest bang for my buck?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends, right? How many bucks do we have to spend, and what are we trying to do?" This is literally just like lock and load. Get a pen, get a piece of paper, take some notes. This is for you guys in the group. All right, so we're gonna have some fun today. I am actually gonna be doing all this on my iPad. We're going back to the classroom. We're going to be going through everything, guys. And again, as we go through, the reason why I put the link in the Facebook group is I want you to be here in the live chat because I'm going to answer questions as we go through this. Is that cool? Let's go. Let's get some freaking leads, Christopher Perkins. Come on now. Let's get some leads. Okay, well, let's get this party started. Lead Gen Masterclass. Leads are the lifeblood of your business, right? Without leads, you literally do not have a business. So a lot of people get trapped in the idea of like, oh my gosh, somebody said I need to go do this. I saw someone flash a check and they were door knocking, and I saw someone said they were doing foreclosures. I saw someone and they were telling me I should do online ads. And then what about novations and all this stuff? Has anyone ever felt like you were just kind of like lost in all the different pieces of information? You're trying to figure out what makes the most sense, or like, how do you actually get consistent deals and consistent money? That's a real deal, right? Because everybody's trying to claim that they have the way. And the problem is, like, this is where everyone has the shiny object syndrome. Everyone's like, because you can bounce around from a million different ways. Thank you, guys. Heck yeah. So Anthony says yes. Heck yeah. So the reality is there's 3 pieces to every real estate investing business. 3 pieces. There's only 3, right? And the thing is, normally we are most concerned about the end part, which is the making money part, which is why we are here for sure. But the reality is it really starts at the top with lead generation. Okay. Lead generation is what makes the whole system run. So if you are not putting together leads on a consistent basis, then that tells me you're definitely not putting deals together on a consistent basis. That's just how it works, right? But once we solve the lead generation problem, the next thing that we end up doing is we have to get good at the next piece of the puzzle. Sorry for my handwriting here, which is the acquisition, right? Acquisition. I'll write that again here in a second. But you got to get good at being able to convert deals. If you can't convert deals, and you don't have a business either. You get good at getting leads, but a lot of it feels like gambling, especially if you're spending money and you're like, I don't know if it's really going to work, but you're trying to figure out too many things. And then the last piece of this whole thing is the disposition. So it doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave it a dispo. So I spare myself the writing on it, right? And at the end result of all of this, after you go through lead generation, acquisition, and finally finish at disposition, then you finally make money, right? And the reality is a lot of times we end up focusing on just this. Like, why are we not making money in our real estate business where you don't know how to do dispo, right? You don't know how to sell the deal. Doesn't matter where it came from. Could have came from a wholesaler. Could have came from another person, like a referral. Could have came from your best friend. Could have came from paid marketing, whatever. We don't know how to sell the deal. And then, oh my gosh, we also don't know how to close a deal. What does a good deal look like? I don't know what acquisition looks like, right? Or like, how can I put these deals together on a consistent basis? And then while we're also doing, I talk to investors and they're like, well, heard from someone that I need multiple marketing channels. Well, then you end up trying to do like 4 to 5 different channels and you get nothing, right? You're cold calling, you're texting, you're trying to figure out door knocking, you're trying to send mailers, maybe, I don't know, but you end up doing a bunch of things to get traction on you don't get traction on any of them. Has anyone ever felt that way where you're like, man, I tried so many different stuff, but I still don't know how people are figuring this stuff out because nothing's working for me. Or maybe it's just me, because I definitely felt that way many a times. So today, this whole training is geared to figure out this part. And as you guys stay in tune with us, and as you stay here on our trainings every Saturday, we're going to be doing these trainings. So next week, guess what? We're going to be talking about acquisition. And the whole training next week is based on creative deal structuring, which is going to be a massive help for you guys. And then we're going to break down dispo so you guys can understand how to actually do this. But the problem is a lot of people figure out like, oh, I need to build my buyers list, right? They try to start here. I want to figure, I need to build my buyer's list. Well, that's not going to get you any deals. And then they're like, well, I should become a better closer, or maybe I should learn some acquisition strategies. And then they start trying to do stuff here. When the reality is we have to focus on the lead flow coming in from the top, because this is what starts the entire process. Does that make sense, everybody? That's the core. That's the core for everything, right? There you go. Joey says, all the gurus tell you need 5+ marketing channels to do deals consistently. That's not the case. Plus, we also can't outspend everybody. So this is why we're here, guys. And we're going to break this thing down for you. So your business, okay? I'm going to draw some pictures here. Bear with me. But your business basically has a few different ways that you can acquire what's called leverage, right? I'm going to draw a circle here, right? And this circle stands for your business growth, right? Business growth. All right. Right now, this ball may feel like it weighs 2 tons. You can't get this thing off the ground. It's too heavy, right? It's too heavy. It's not going anywhere. It's not moving. It's not going up, and it's just stuck on the ground, right? That's your business. It's not going anywhere. Well, as you go to grow, leverage, I'm going to draw a little lever here. Bear with me. This lever is how you actually move the ball, right? And there's 3 points of leverage. The longer the lever gets, the easier it is to move the ball, right? That's just simple physics. So in business sense, you have different points of leverage to be able to move this ball a little bit easier. So you look at the businesses that are doing the most deals. They've mastered all 3 of these points, right? They're able to move that ball very, very easily. So I'm going to label this thing as points of leverage. You got to be able to figure out what you currently have the most of so you can lever those things. So the first point, or one of the 3 points of leverage here, is your time. Okay. You can spend your time, and as long as you're spending your time on the right stuff, okay, as long as you're spending your time doing the right things on a daily basis and you do the fundamentals. Okay, guys, and this is real estate. Real estate is really just the fundamentals, doing the things, right? If we're not doing the things that's going to bring us in leads, which is as simple as what Brent Daniel says is talking to people. If we're not talking to people every single day, then our business isn't growing, right? So that's where we need to spend our time. But if we're not spending our time doing that and we don't have other points of leverage, then our business definitely isn't going to move. We want to make sure we're working on the right stuff. Anyone ever felt like you woke up one day and you're like, man, I want to grow my real estate business, but I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know what I should do to really to get this thing to take off. Or is it just me? Because sometimes you'll sit here and pine away and you look at all the different ways you could go do something, and then you end up doing none of them very well, right? We want to make sure that our time is spent the right way. So assuming our time is spent the right way, we have some leverage in our business. Boom. That is the first step. The second piece of leverage, the lever arm just got a little bit longer. Okay. This is going to be your money, right? You can spend money to acquire leverage in your business. You can spend money by hiring other people. You can spend money on getting leads online. You can spend money on mailers and other forms of marketing. You can spend your money on getting help or coaches or whatever. You can spend your money to acquire leverage. That's pretty straightforward. Okay. But you want to make sure you're spending money on the right things, because, I think the reality is there's a lot of things out there that, they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to use paid ads, for example, real quick, right? Carl said, well, there is none. Exactly. So this is helping you guys identify what you actually have to grow your business. Okay. We hear trainings and coaching and all this stuff. Thank you, Carl, for this, by the way, because this is an important note. You hear people talk about do these things. You need 4 or 5 marketing methods and channels to get leads. But you're like, man, I don't have any money to spend on marketing, or I don't want to spend the money on marketing. So how the heck do you actually do that? So what they're teaching you is just totally irrelevant if you don't have that point of leverage, right? And then you have the other end of the spectrum of like people doing online ads and PPC and stuff. You can easily spend a bunch of money, but if you're not focusing your time in the right direction, or if you don't have the right system in place, that money is all for naught and you lose money. Is it just me? I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on this kind of stuff and have not seen a return on it. Or is it just me? Because I've done it plenty of times, right? And then the last point of leverage, okay? The last one, the third point here, to keep it super simple, to get the most, all of a sudden this leverage arm is now much, much, much larger. This last one is your relationships, okay? Relationships. So that's knowing people. That's building relationships with people in the industry. That's people knowing who you are. Some of you guys are afraid to post on social media, but if I sat here and told you today, if people knew what you were doing, you could probably get a deal a month just by people knowing what you're doing and having some social proof from when you start talking to people. They can go find you online. I can't tell you how many people found me on Instagram or on YouTube, even though I don't have a ton of subscribers or a ton of followers, people at least see that I am who I say I am, and it helps me do more business, right? And building relationships is what I like to call this, like the impossible to fail part, because once your network is so strong, it's the ultimate cheat code because it's almost impossible to lose. You're surrounding yourself with people that are doing deals and making money, right? These are your friends. You look at every big influencer, every big business person, they probably have really big connections and relationships, right? So we want to get to that point where we have relationships in our business, that we have a guy, right? Oh, you need to do this? Perfect. I have a guy. Or like, hey, you need to go raise money. Boom, you have a place to go to raise money. But it's really hard to start there. And this is the reason why I have it as the last one, because getting started, you don't have much, right? You can get relationships by getting into a coaching program or a mentorship, and all of a sudden you tap into a ton of relationships that way. I like to say, like, being in coaching programs is like almost like weeding out who's serious and who's not, because you get to be around a lot of people who are actually doing the business. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stuff out there where people buy and just never do anything. So you got to be careful as always, but building relationships is a massive part of growing your business and acquiring leverage. If you're not doing this, then your business will never really take off per se, right? It'll never get to where you want it to go. But that's why we're here today. I want you to understand this, and we can understand our point of leverage, because this is how we end up spending our money on marketing. So anytime that you try to figure out, like, where should I go next? Right? Because getting to the first deal become pretty straightforward. But then the question becomes, if it took you 6 months to get your first deal or 3 months to get your first deal, you can't wait 3 months to get your next one. So it's like, how can I start doing this more consistently? And this is where this all comes in, right? There you go. Michael Cortez, I have such a hard time getting agents on board with creative. We'll talk a little bit about that today, right? Exhausted by all the gurus. Exactly, Carl. So the way that you do this, guys, and you look at the biggest business, is not only do the biggest businesses allocate their human capital, right? Their HR stuff, their people in their business. Not only do they leverage them the right way and their time, they're focused on the right stuff, they're normally also able to spend their money in the right places and know that, hey, I'm spending money, we're getting leads, and it just becomes a math game. So they're putting their money on the line, and they also have time that they can leverage. And oh my gosh, this ball starts moving pretty quick, right? And then once you're able to add in all three, the biggest businesses, especially in real estate, they're able to leverage all three of these. And all of a sudden, this thing really starts to take off, right? But it's just one step at a time. So a lot of times we can't compare ourselves with someone spending, a ton of money over here, when really what we have to leverage is our time, right? Or maybe you're busy, right? Maybe you don't have a ton of time and you work a 9 to 5 and you're like, I want to grow my business and I don't want to pick up the phones and I don't want to talk to people. Well, you better have money to spend, because that's all I can tell you. And there's no deals that's going to be magically coming about it. Right? There's no deal that's just going to fall in your lap. So we got to be able to say, like, all right, well, even if you work a 9 to 5 and you don't have money to spend, you can take the little time you have and just make sure it's hyper focused on the right stuff, and you're going to get traction. Okay. That's the big deal here. And then of course, over time, we can leverage our relationships. So with that, what we're going to be discussing here today is 4 investor icons. Okay. 4 investor icons. And understanding the type of investor you are is going to help you when it comes to growing your business via lead generation. Okay. 2 of these icons are for those who have money to spend. I'm going to put paid here. Okay. And 2 of these are what I call basically free. So my favorite methods are obviously the ones that are basically free, because we have like the most leverage on our money with the free stuff. We can grow basically as big as we want to go, because we can apply these points of leverage. This stuff up here, guys, I can apply my time to paid and it's going to work better. I can apply my time to the basically free stuff. I can apply my money to the paid stuff. Obviously, I'm going to need to. I can also apply my money to the basically free stuff and get the most out of it, right? And of course, I can apply my relationships to each one of those as well. So that's important to understand. So whatever you decide that you are, whatever icon that we go over here today that you decide you are, understand that you can apply the points of leverage accordingly to each one. Okay. So let's get into the individual ones, guys. And the cool thing is I actually have a sheet that I'll be giving away to you guys at the end of this that kind of goes over the strategy of whatever one you decide that you are. Okay. But I'm going to start with the paid ones first. So we get those out the way and we talk about the basically free as we kind of finish up. But the main stuff here is I want you guys to understand, if you have money to spend, okay, it's not everybody, but if you have money to spend, I'd recommend, when I say money to spend, you want to have like at least like a 90-day runway. Okay. So normally when it comes to paid lead generation, bare minimum is like $2,500 a month. So you want to make sure you have like $7,500 set away for a 3-month runway, knowing that your first month is you're ramping up, your second month you're really getting traction. Hopefully you're getting deals under contract. And by the time those deals actually close, you're running at around 90 days. A lot of people gamble their 25, they maybe have $5,000 or whatever, and they gamble it and you don't get a deal closed, and then you have to start and stop stuff. Has anyone ever done that? Because I've done it plenty of times too, especially getting started. My first deal, I door knocked and got my first deal, made $12,000, spent all that money on marketing like a dummy. And I had to turn everything off because I ran out of money, literally 12 grand, right? So we learned a lot about doing this. You want to give yourself a 90-day runway here. Okay, so the first icon, I'm gonna draw a little shape here. So the first icon, I'm gonna call this one our inbound specialist, okay? So there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons on each one of these that we'll go through. But the thing about inbound specialists, this is perfect for folks when it comes to time, money, and relationships. Okay. The inbound specialist avatar or icon is more for folks who don't have much time. Okay. But you have money and you don't really need relationships. Okay. But you at least have money. And inbound can be things like, give me some inbound stuff, guys, in the chat. Give me some stuff. Give me some inbound ways you can generate leads, meaning people are calling you. What's some ways that people can generate leads on inbound, right? I can tell you one way. One way is people who do mailers. When I first got started, that was like the popular thing. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to send mailers and you need to typically send like anywhere from 7 to 10 of these to get any traction, 7 to 10 pieces of mail. And this can get pretty expensive rather quickly. And what happens is with direct mail, you got to be able to answer your phone fast, right? So I'm going to say here, systems are crucial. Okay. Systems are crucial. So I recommend having like a CRM of some sort. We use future-proof CRMs, what all of our students use too, but it's basically just a build out of high level, okay? And all we do is our systems are leveraged to take inbound and outbound calls. So you definitely want to have some sort of system here. I'm going to put a star beside it, that if you're sending mailers at all times, you got to be able to pick up that phone, okay? At all times. You miss a call, they're going to call someone else. They're probably getting mailers from other people. So when they called you, they're probably calling a whole stack, right? They flip to the next one, flip to the next one, flip to the next one, flip to the next one. Okay. Got to be able to pick up those phone calls. So if you are sending mailers, then you better tap in with me and I'll make sure your systems are right. Okay. The next one. Okay, I like this. Thank you guys for putting in here. I see flyers and bandit signs. I'm going to put those together in one. Bandit signs, okay, plus flyers. Those are great, especially in mid to low end income neighborhoods, right? You can put out bandit signs to grow your buyers list. You can put out bandit signs to find sellers. Typically, your inbound specialist, you're going to be working mostly with homeowners directly, okay? I'm going to put right here inbound specialist. I'm going to put DTS for direct to seller, okay? So bandit signs work similarly. You want to be able to take those inbound calls because if they're calling you from a bandit sign, my goodness, they're probably calling anybody and everybody and doing the Google search and doing all the things. So you better pick up those phones. Same thing as mailers. 3, thank you guys. See a lot of stuff here. Facebook, right? I'm going to do Facebook. This is Meta. So I'm just going to do Facebook/social. So you can run social media ads. Okay. Now here's what you can expect for social media. If me personally, if I was doing any sort of inbound, this would be the one between this and Google would be the one that I would personally pick. Because if you have very little time, you at least have some quality coming in that you can control. And the best part about doing online advertising is that you can kind of scale it accordingly. Like you can really pump the gas and get a lot of leads, and you can really slow it down and get a little bit less leads, and you can go back and forth without having to shut it off completely. It's a little bit more tough to do that with mailers, right? And it's definitely more tough to do that with bandit signs and stuff because like those are just kind of like you're sitting around and wait. It's easy to track Facebook and social. So what you can expect if this is the route that you end up going and you want to do this, again, this is more for the person who's like, look, I make good money on my job. I'm trying to pick up some real estate deals. I love to do some wholesaling or maybe even have someone work these leads for me. This is probably the easiest way to build an automated business is through this, but just know you're going to spend money to do so. So a Facebook lead typically costs anywhere from $20 to $100. Okay. $20 to $100 to get a Facebook lead. I'm just do per lead, right? And your leads, I can pull up my CRM here in just a second, but your leads when it comes to Facebook and Meta and like put on Instagram, those leads are a little less qualified, right? Because it's hard to control like what they actually fill out on a form, right? So normally these people see an ad, right? So I'm just going to draw a little picture of a timeline. On the timeline, I mean, you've probably seen this, and it will just be like this little sponsored ad here where people can watch it, right? And typically from there, they end up filling out this little form, right? And put form. And then once they submit the form, this goes to some sort of CRM where you need to call ASAP. Same thing. They're filling out your form. They're calling everybody, and they are not going to know who the heck you are. They're not. They're going to be like, what is this about? No, I don't want to offer my property. Happens a lot with online lead generation. Okay. But typically they fill out a form and it shoots into the CRM. Sometimes you're missing information. Sometimes the phone number they put in, isn't correct, etc. So you have to deal with that. So typically in this world, it's going to take about 30 to 35 leads to convert to a deal, assuming that you're good at conversions. Okay. So I'd just say 30 to 35 leads. Okay. People tell you otherwise. I think they're being a little dishonest, right? Some people, like obviously me doing it as long as I've done it, I could probably convert a little bit better than those numbers. But still I'm subject to the amount of information that I get from a lead. And that's important to note, guys. So lead generation can feel like this big gray area. Like what the heck even is a lead, right? And some of you guys are like, well, this isn't a lead, or maybe who here has done cold calling before or had a virtual assistant doing cold calling? Give me a yes in the chat if you guys have done that before. If you've done cold calling, put that in the chat, right? And a lot of times with cold calling leads, just like PPC, you don't have a ton of information, right? Maybe you have somebody who's like, oh, I want $500,000 for my house, and it's $300,000 house, right? Or they want whatever, they want all this money for this property. Or maybe you're like, yeah, they just said they want to sell, call them at, and you're like, well, that's not a lead, right? So what even is a lead? So technically all of those things could potentially be a lead. The way that I classify it is a lead is simply information that can be leveraged to create a sale. Okay. So it's not if a lead is a lead, yes or no. It's just how good is the lead, right? A lead can be good. You have a better lead. So like, for example, if you have a homeowner who, put in their form and they say they want $300,000 for the property, here's my phone number. Okay. Technically that's a lead. But if you have a homeowner said they want $300,000 for their property and they said they're moving out of state and they like to sell within 30 days, that's a little bit better lead. If you have a homeowner who wants to sell their property in 30 days and they're moving out of state and they want $300,000 and they actually said the first person that comes today that gives them a reasonable offer, they're going to accept it, and they have medical bills that they're stacking up on them and the property needs a ton of work and they can't take care of it. Wow. Okay. That is an even better lead. You see what I'm saying? So it's more on a spectrum of how good is the lead. So when you do these types of lead generation exercises and these types of methods between Facebook or bandit signs and mailers, when someone calls you, that's a lead. But just how good is it? So Facebook typically tends to be a little bit less of a quality than probably the fourth one we'll say here, which is Google, right? So Google can be your pay-per-click stuff. That's whenever you type in, I need to sell my house in Arizona, right? I need to sell my house today, fast, whatever. You're the ad that actually pops up at the top, people pay for those clicks, right? So when someone clicks on that, it charges the person who's running that advertisement. You also have paid search, okay? You also have SEO, right? SEO is more of a long game, but it is worth the game. Because eventually you're going to get to the point where you can only spend so much money. You can only spend so much money on ads. So ideally, all this stuff does is it brings eyeballs to your offer, to your website. So we want to be able to take those eyeballs and turn them into consistent visitors, or like, hey, maybe we gave them an offer and it wasn't a good fit. Or what do they see when they find us? Like if you go type in Open Door on a website called SEMrush, which checks like how well someone SEO is, right? And like what terms you should be ranking for on Google. It's a whole game, guys, right? If you're not savvy enough on that, I wouldn't even worry about it. Maybe this is something longer down the road that you can focus on at SEO, but you can see that the organic traffic that Open Door gets to their website would cost them over $5 million a month in advertising to match the same amount of eyeballs. You see what I'm saying? So long game, you build a brand where people want to come see you. But this isn't something that you can just turn on tomorrow and get a lead from. SEO is like, hey, give us a year and we'll do that. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to wait a year, but it's important that we build our business for the future. You see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm saying? These lead generation methods work, but we got to figure out where we're at right now. So it's nice to set your business up and be quote unquote future proof, but we have to decide what makes the most sense. So again, our inbound specialist, this is the system that you're setting up. You understand that this is going to be investment. I say don't even bother to do this unless you have at least $10,000. Okay. Don't even go into this world until you have at least $10,000 to spend. And I would probably say having a runway of $10,000 is about $3,000 a month in advertising. This eventually is going to get more and more expensive as you grow. You're going to spend more and more money on this. Okay. So unless you have $10,000, this probably isn't the strategy for you, right? But this is the inbound specialist. If you have very little time, you have money to spend, this one, setting up this system will probably be your best bet to get off the ground, assuming you have money. But if you're like, Matt, I don't have time and I don't have money, stick with me here because I'm going to give you some cool stuff. Because I personally don't do much of this anymore. There was a point in time where we were spending upwards to $50,000 to $60,000 a month on paid leads and getting nowhere. We were getting deals, but I was also dry heaving in a bag every night, being like, oh my God, okay, we're spending all this money. This deal got to close. This deal got to close. And anyone in real estate here, you ever had a deal fall out of escrow? Have you ever had a deal that you had under contract that got canceled? Right? Happens a lot. So nothing sucks more than spending $3,000 on a deal that doesn't actually close. So you're really rolling the dice. But it is systematic. You get good at conversions and locking up the right deals, understanding what you can actually sell. A lot of people grow their businesses on this. They get to the point where they're spending $100,000 a month and they're making $300,000. But just because you see somebody flashing the checks and say that, hey, we made $200,000 this past month, they are spending money. So how profitable are they? I don't know about you guys, but I want my business to support my life. I don't want my life to support my business. You see what I'm saying here? I want to have a business that I can to do the things that I like to do. And make no mistake, there are sacrifices that have to happen to make the business grow. But I want it to support my lifestyle. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck in my business and every single day is just a grind just to make a few bucks. That's not what this is about. A lot of us got into real estate to buy properties and build our portfolios and do fix and flips. So you don't need to feel like you have to build this big business to make it a hustle. So that's important too. So that leads me to my next icon. Okay. So that is inbound specialist. Does everybody understand that one? Give me a heck yes in the chat if you guys understand inbound specialist now. Got it? Got it? Cool. Let's move on to the next one. The second investor icon. All right. You probably guessed it. Second investor icon is your outbound specialist. Now, who in the world would do outbound? What is outbound marketing, guys? Give me some stuff in the chat. What are some examples of outbound marketing? What do we got for that? Outbound marketing. What do we have for outbound? Give me some examples. This is whenever you are reaching out to prospects. There we go. Thank you, Facebook user. Cold calling. That is definitely one. Joey says texting. That is definitely one. Love it. That's another form for sure. Love it. SMS, email. Perfect. I'm going to put outbound specialist in this example under direct to seller. Okay. So for outbound specialist, I have this as someone who has time to spend, you need to have time. If you are working a full-time job and you're trying to set up an outbound system, it's probably not going to work. Just being honest. Okay. As in a very high level, crazy systems, direct to seller model. Okay. So you need to have time. You need to have money. You don't have to have relationships. Okay. So I'm going to just check these off. So you have time. You have time to spend in your business. I'd probably say you're going to need at least 4 hours a day to dedicate to your business if you're doing outbound specialist. You have money to spend because you're going to leverage people, right? You don't have to have relationships. Okay. Love it. Door knocking is definitely a form of this. So let's look at this. Let's look at the different ways that you can go about doing outbound. Okay. And I'm going to assume on this that you have some money to spend. So this is the one where I say money-wise, you need about $7,500 here to last for 3 months. Okay. So it's cheaper than your inbound specialist. So I want you guys to note here that you can set up an outbound system at about $7,500 for 3 months. That's $2,500 a month. And that's cheaper than what I set up here on inbound. But guess what you're trading? What are you trading for saving money? Going back to our points of leverage up here. If we are going to save money and spend less than our competitors, we have to pick another point of leverage. So exactly. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Timothy. We're going to be trading our time to save money. Okay. So here under outbound specialist, there's a couple things you could do. You could set up a cold calling business, right? Of course, what's the keys to cold calling? I'm actually going to bunch these all together. I'm just going to do mostly phone stuff. So cold calling and SMS. All right. And I'll even do, some of you guys are still doing this. You can still sing ringless voicemails as RVM. Well, the most important parts of this, and because we've done it for a while, if you guys know my past, we had 40 virtual assistants at one point. Outside of spending all that money on paid leads, there's three main points here. You have your tools, you have your system, and you have your people. That's the biggest. Those are the three things that are necessary to run a calling outbound system. You got to make sure your tools are dialed in. So typically here, you're going to need a power dialer, right? Batch dialer is the one that we've used in the past. If you guys do decide that outbound specialist is your move, you can always go to batch leads. Actually, they actually just changed this. It's actually batchdialer.com/no fluff. And if you do that, you get a free trial, and I think you get half off your first month if you end up deciding that this is your avatar. I don't do this anymore because I focus more on the free leads and stuff. But if you guys are like, I have time and I have money to spend, Matt, and I want to get this thing going faster, boom, this could be a good option for you. Okay. But you have to make sure your tools are really dialed in. Right. And what happens a lot of times here, the biggest complaints is just compliance. Right. This has been very tough over the last year and a half. In September of 2023, A2P became a thing where all carriers made you register for A2P, making calling from VoIP numbers or internet numbers. Basically, you're going to get online. They get marked spam likely very quickly, and carriers are cracking down on robocalls and all that stuff. So it's just harder to get connected with people unless you're calling old folks on landlines. It's almost impossible, right? So something to definitely take note of. Compliance is tough. SMS basically doesn't exist anymore in the same capacity, right? So bulk SMS just doesn't happen because a lot of stuff now requires two-step authorization to text people. Okay. So that's the thing. Power dialing, biggest challenge with this system is the compliance in the bulk SMS. And some of you guys you don't know what you're in for when you start this thing. It takes time to get it right. And there's a lot of moving pieces. So as a new person, or if you're brand new and you're still trying to figure out all the other stuff that we're talking about up here with lead generation, acquisition, and disposition, and you're like, I'm trying to figure out all this stuff. I don't normally recommend setting up a big calling system to cold call homeowners because the other big piece there, probably one of the bigger challenges, is the actual data component. Okay. So that goes into the systems. Like if your data is bad, man, it's almost impossible. So one of my favorite services, and this is just to put them in here, is a company called Skip Matrix. So if you guys ever, for whatever reason, if you for whatever reason need to skip trace a list, go to Skip Matrix. They have the best stuff. Like no joke, they have the best stuff. So they actually give you like relatives. They give you previous acquaintances. They have like all different phone numbers, all the different addresses, like so much data. So if you ever need to skip trace a list, I love batch leads, obviously, because we use it to run our business on most things, but I will not use batch leads data. Okay. That's just me being honest with you guys. Is it okay if I stay transparent in this whole training? If I give it to you straight, that's how I normally do it, but I just want to make sure you guys know, like I'm not pushing an affiliate. I would never talk about something that I don't actually use. And I would never tell you like, hey, use batch leads data. It's the best. It is not the best. Skip matrix data is pretty sick. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So if you're setting up your outbound system, data is important. Okay. So you don't need relationships, but this is going to cost you about $2,500 a month because the normal way to leverage this, to get the most out of this, the key component is going to be your people. So this is where folks hire a virtual assistant, right? Virtual assistant. And your virtual assistant team is going to make or break the system because they're the ones power dialing. And this is how you acquire leverage. This is why I'm assuming Eric Martinez, it might actually be .com. Do .com if that didn't pull it up. So virtual assistant, this is going to make or break your system. So this is probably going to normally cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 an hour. Okay. So $4 to $5 an hour to make phone calls, to have someone do it for you. Right. We've had a company in the past, Start Virtual, no longer there anymore. If you guys ever need a virtual assistant, we have a company called Vominos. You can email me, matt@highachiever.com, and I'll get you set up with a virtual assistant. But I don't recommend starting here if you are like, hey, I don't have the money to spend. Do not hire a VA if you're like, man, I am just figuring this stuff out and I don't have this kind of money to spend. Because really, the rest of this money goes to skipping great data, right? And paying for the software that are required under the tools, right? And having a good CRM. So don't go hire a VA thinking that's not going to be the key thing. If you put someone who's very skilled on bad data, they're not going to get any leads, right? They're calling homeowners and they're getting connected to Wendy's and the hospital. They're not getting connected to homeowners, right? Or they're calling and the dialer keeps going down and the phone number's marked spam, so they're not getting connected to anybody. You can be the best person on the phone, but if you're not talking to anybody because the tools don't work, it doesn't matter, okay? So that's why all three of these things have to work in unison, right? They all work together, okay? Now, the next piece to this, other ways that you can go do outbound. Again, I want you guys to think like you're trying to go get someone's attention, right? You're trying to go find, got to go find homeowners who want to sell you their properties. And typically, guys, this is more on the paid route. So I want you to think of paid stuff because we're going to go over some free stuff here in a minute. But I want you to think about the free stuff. Great question, Michael. The VA is just, you can email me. Our company is called Vominos, but you can email me directly about it. Just matt@highachiever.com. Sorry, that is an R over here. Sorry for my terrible handwriting. Okay. The next form I saw one of you guys say like door knocking. You can certainly leverage outbound door knocking and put money in it. So like this is one of those things where just like up here, cold calling and sending SMS, could you do it yourself? Absolutely. Do you want to quit real estate in 3 months? If this is the quickest route to do it is by doing it yourself. So I don't recommend cold calling homeowners. You will call through thousands and thousands of people and find very few that actually want to sell. That's the reason why you get a VA. You leverage their time. So when you hire a VA, right, and you spend your money on hiring somebody, all of a sudden you're leveraging their time. And that's how you need to look at it. Just because you hire someone for lead gen, like a virtual assistant, doesn't mean you don't need to do anything. Instead, look at it as like, oh my gosh, I just got 40 extra hours this week to help me towards getting more leads. So you generate leads while they're generating leads, and that's how you really take off. By the time you hire 2 or 3, now you're having 100 and you're literally buying time, 120 hours a week plus yours to grow your business. That's the idea. But you can still, same thing. You're applying money and you're applying your time to grow your business. You could do the same thing here in door knocking. You can apply your money in door knocking to get people to grow to help you grow your business too. Now, if you decide that door knocking is the move for you, if you decide that door knocking, you're like, man, I love talking to people at the door. I have door-to-door sales experience, whatever. I talk to people like that, right? Then the next best thing when you do door knocking, you could virtually canvas people on door knocking, right? Which goes up here. So doing social media ads is basically like virtual door knocking, right? Hey, you thought about selling your house? Hey, you thought about selling your house, but you're on their social media, right? But when we're door knocking on outbound, we're going to their door, then you basically should only door knock foreclosures. And this is my humble opinion. I had a door knocking team at one point. We were door knocking your driving for dollar list, right? Because that's a way you can go drive for dollars. But when you get that list of people to call up here, cold calling, SMS, or ringless voicemail, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you're doing distressed. If you're trying to make this system work and literally like I have $7,500, basically that's it. Don't do anything but distressed. Don't go call tired landlords. Don't call high equity list. You should call foreclosures. You could try to get your hands on a probate list, or you're calling niche lists like you're driving for dollar stuff. Okay. Don't go pull this big list because it's going to bog you down. It's going to bog your virtual assistant down. And this is an important note because I got this from you guys just reading here in the chat. Thank you for this. Like, one of my biggest problems, the reason why when I got my first deal door knocking, 12 grand, and I spent it all on marketing, my biggest problem was I didn't stay focused on one thing. So instead I did the thing. I pulled all the land, like the absentee owners here in Phoenix. Who here knows what an absentee owner is? Put in the chat, you know what an absentee owner is. But an absentee owner is someone who their address for their property they live in, their mailing address is different than the property address, right? So it tells us that, hey, this is not their primary property. So with an absentee owner, okay, there's a ton of them. There's so many, tens of thousands, okay, where I was working a foreclosure list that was like 1,000. Thank you, Steve. When there's like 1,000 people in foreclosure in Phoenix, maybe like 1,200, we're able to get through it a lot. We're able to call it multiple times and text it multiple times. You pull a big list of people and you only have you and maybe a virtual assistant, and you try to call a list of 15,000, 20,000, 40,000. It's like trying to find a needle inside of a needle of a haystack, or maybe even 20 haystacks trying to find one needle. It feels almost impossible because the magic isn't just calling the list one time with this strategy. It's calling it multiple times, right? So you need to have a list that, and we talked about this in Zero to Hero, you need to be able to have a list that you can get through 3 times in 2 weeks, 4 times in 2 weeks. Because you're like, how often are you going to find someone who answers their phone the first time? You call them randomly and it's a random number and they're like, yeah, you caught me in the right time, right day, right? It's not going to happen. You want to give yourself some repetitions. You want to have a list that you can call many, many, many times. So when I pulled that big list of all these absentee owners, I had one VA, and for 30 days, we didn't get another deal. Heck, basically, we're getting like one lead every other day. I was like, well, why am I not getting enough leads? It's because we're calling too big of a list. Now, with a team of 40 virtual assistants, we can call the list of 30,000, 40,000 people because we have all these people calling. But that's a whole nother headache with getting more data and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying, guys, stay distressed, stay super niche getting started if this is the strategy you go after. In any of these strategies, you should try to stay as niche as possible, depending on your size of your business, because that's going to give you more leads, more qualified leads, so you can spend your time working with the right people. Because we still, even assuming you have time and money, you still don't have unlimited time. That's the limiting factor of all of this. Is it typically becomes a constraint. So when you're door knocking, I would only door knock foreclosures. I wouldn't touch the driving for dollar properties that look distressed and talk to the neighbors and stuff. What I want you guys to think of, I don't want you to confuse productivity with busyness, right? Being busy, going out talking to neighbors, and if you're going out and door knocking, or heck, any of this, going to meetups and talking to people about doing deals, typically you're talking to people who ain't doing deals. Like that was my biggest, like, what is somebody doing going to a meetup on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. to talk about real estate? I remember one time, like Pace was having a meetup and all these people were going and like, Matt, you coming? I'm like, no, I got a seller's appointment and I got to go door knock this afternoon. Like we should be spending our time doing deals. And this is where people are like, whoa, wait a second, hit a hot button point here. But like, we should be doing things that bring us money and we got to be very efficient with our time. Don't confuse busyness, because you could say, like, I went to this meetup and I met all these people and I got all these connections. Don't confuse that with productivity. Right. And productivity is moving the ball, and typically it's getting deals and making money. Okay. So when you're door knocking, if this is the route you go, you do foreclosures. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys the statistics here. If you end up doing this, you need to get a door knocking script. Probably recommend mine. But you end up doing somewhere in the neighborhood in the beginning about 150 to 200 doors to get a deal. Right. And you may be like, Matt, I don't have 200 foreclosures in my market to go door knock. Well, then maybe we need to go figure something else out. Right. Pierre, perfect. Don't confuse motion for progress. Exactly. So guys, if you don't have a ton of foreclosures that is easy for you to go door knock, don't even choose this strategy. Do what I'm going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Now, before the market started doing all the crazy stuff with the interest rates and whatnot, there wasn't many options, right? You basically either had to cold call some homeowners or good luck, right? Go door knock. And for some of you guys, are like, maybe you're in rural towns or maybe your town isn't. Phoenix, there's like 4 million people here, right? So there's going to be a lot of foreclosures. If you don't have that level of foreclosures, you live in a bigger market, then probably don't even worry about door knocking, because you're going to definitely be busy more than you're going to be productive. Okay. So that's the number, about 150 to 200 doors per deal. It normally ended up taking about 40 conversations at the door, because not everybody actually opens the door. This would roughly be about 4 appointments, right? That's me going in the living room, sitting down and talking about their options with foreclosure. And then in the beginning, you'll get 1 deal. And as you get better, you'll probably be able to convert half of those, 1 to 2 deals. Okay. And the way to grow this is you hire people to do this whole process. You can hire people. And what you'll find if you do decide to do door knocking or build a door knocking team is your door knocking strategies and your door knocking deals and your door knocking leads are typically a little bit bigger deals than what you'll find from other methods, because your conversions are going to be crazy, insane better than you will on your phone by being in person. That is just statistics. Okay. And that's just human communication. Doesn't matter who says what. You can virtually wholesale. Absolutely you can. But the person, if I want to virtually wholesale in Atlanta and I'm trying to negotiate a deal and I got it at 180, I guarantee someone who can physically go to the house in Atlanta could probably get that house for 175 and have a bigger spread. Okay. But don't let that discourage you if your only option is the virtual wholesale. Just know that your bigger spreads are going to be meeting people. But again, you want to be strategic with who you meet. You don't want to be busy. You want to be productive. So you can hire people to do this exact process for door knocking, and you can grow your business that way. When we were hiring people, we were paying people we're paying people 20%, right? As appointment setters, 20% per deal for appointments. So whoever set me on this appointment here, if I closed it, they got 20% of the deal. That's how I would pay them. Now, as we grew it out, I ended up doing this plus a small base of 1,500. If this is what you want to do. Again, this is using money to leverage someone else's time to go do door knocking deals. Okay. The biggest challenge with this strategy, right? So I'm going to do the con of doing this is number one, there's a high turnover. So you're always going to be bringing new people in. And also, it's just constant training, right? And based on the turnover, like you're always bringing people in, like every single Saturday, you're bringing new people in to have conversations like, hey, you want to go door knock? Hey, you want to go door knock? So just understand that's a part of this game. If you can't or are unwilling to do that or not big on building big teams, don't choose this strategy, okay? Constant training and there's a high turnover. Everybody following me so far? How we feeling in the chat? You guys getting what we're putting down over here? Breaking all this down? I know because there's so many different ways you can go about generating leads. I just want to give you guys the questions to ask yourself to figure out if the thing is right for you. So that is what door knocking looks like. That's what paid cold calling looks like, and paid SMS and paid RVMs, all on Outbound. And typically the reason why someone, and I'm just going to do pros for this strategy as a whole, pros for doing Outbound or being an Outbound specialist is that number one, leads are cheaper and systems create not productivity, systems create predictability. That's what I'm looking for. Predictability. Okay. So this is a systems heavy approach. You can systematically bring in new people for your door knocking. You can systematically bring in people to do your cold calling and stuff in your business. So your systems create a ton of predictability and leads are cheaper than inbound. Okay. But again, where you are trading where you're trading money, you are trading time. So if you're spending less money on inbound leads that you would up here, okay, the $10,000 to do PPC and paid search and all that, understand not every lead is going to be great, but systems are super important. If you don't have systems and you don't know how to close, don't waste your money on leads because that's not going to get you any deals. It's going to leave you very frustrated and out of money. Outbound specialist, okay? Outbound specialist is folks that would be leveraging their time and money to grow their business. The more popular methods here is going to be your cold calling, your SMS and RVM, and then you have your door knocking, right? Anthony says, saw someone on Facebook said he would pay a referral fee for people who would drive for dollars for them. Yep. I mean, that's just another way that you can go about doing, basically building out your door knocking / driving for dollar team. If you send a lead in so the challenging part about that is people will send you just about everything, right? So again, it takes time to train your virtual, and great point here. And that's why I'm bringing this up. It takes time to train your Uber and Lyft drivers about what properties to look for. And you're looking for ugly properties and stuff, because really that's not even the work. The work is skip tracing them, picking up the phone and calling them 100 times to get them on the phone to get the deal done. So again, that work still has to go on to someone. Normally, if you don't want to use your time, then you have to hire a VA to make these phone calls. And you end up having an Uber Lyft driver send you over 100 properties and you don't know. Like some of them was like, oh, the trash can was by the road. The property isn't ugly. So I would venture to say this is still not a scalable model by paying someone to do your driving for dollars. Just because, I don't know, if you say like, hey, $500. I'll give you $500 for anything. You just bring me an ugly house. I'd be like, bet. All right, 123 Main Street, 124 Main Street, 125 Main Street. I'm just kidding. But like you see, like you're almost incentivizing the wrong activity where like you'd want to say, hey, go find me an ugly house, talk to them, say these things. And if they are at all interested in learning more or talking more, then boom, I will 100% go meet with them. And then basically what you just did is you would pay somebody something like that, right? 20% for the deal or whatever. So that would probably be the best way to run on that one. So those are your first two investor icons. And again, the big stuff that we're leveraging here is money. But who here watching right now, you're like, look, I don't have $7,500 set aside to spend right now. Or like, I don't want to spend money on lead generation. I don't have $10,000 either for the other stuff. I want to learn the basically free stuff that I can use to leverage. Because this is what our entire business is ran on, basically free stuff. Is that who here right now? Let's go. Sean goes, let's get to that free. Love it. Thank you, Sean. How about you guys? Anyone here identify as a inbound specialist or an outbound specialist? Does any of those two does any of those two vibe with anybody here? Love it. Carl says free. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's get to it. Let's talk about the free stuff. And guys, thank you everybody hanging with me here. We're an hour in. You guys getting some value in this first hour? I promise you I'll do my best to get through this as fast as possible. But are you guys getting some value from this training at least? Carl says tired of the shiny object syndrome. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Let's look at the next one, okay? So now I am going to start getting into the basically free stuff, okay? So your basically free methods of lead generation. Your first icon you're going to see here. I'm going to draw this. You guys follow me? Oh, why'd you delete that? Okay. The first icon, that's my terrible attempt to draw what we call our creative ninjas. Okay. So creative ninjas, we are working through free lead sources. There's a couple ways you can go about doing this. I'm going to give you the most efficient way to go about doing this because, again, going through time, money, and relationships, this strategy is best suited for someone who has time and when I say have time, like give me I would say at least 2 to 3 hours. Okay. Be great if you had more, but if you at least have 2 or 3 hours, I'll make sure you're focusing on the right stuff. Okay. But you don't need to have money or very little. I'm going to tell you what you're going to need to actually spend your money on. And you don't need relationships. Okay. This is your creative ninjas. All right. So what we do with being a creative ninja is we specifically focus on market opportunities, or basically another way, people who already want to sell. Okay. So they don't all have to be like on the MLS with this. Okay. I don't want you guys to think about, we got to go on the MLS to get deals. We're working with people who already want to sell. Okay. So a couple ways you can go about doing this. There's two different buckets. Okay. You have agents. You could work with real estate professionals. And I'm going to call agents, and I'm also going to do / wholesalers, because basically we call these people deal suppliers. And you can also do on market or people who really need to sell and work with homeowners. You can do either one. All right. And we've talked about this last year, and we still talk about it all the time. Which one will make the most sense? Because hey, if you're like, I have time, I don't want to spend a bunch of money. And yes, creative ninjas, I'll basically put here as a DTA, direct to agent. Now, if I have time and I don't have money to spend, then I need to be working with people that gives me the highest likelihood that I'm talking to somebody that can maybe work something out with, right? I can't do all the things. So I got to be very strategic on how I want to spend my time. Because again, on the other stuff, inbound and outbound, you could use your time, but it's going to be so inefficient. You are not going to get any deals, or it's going to take forever, and you're going to quit real estate. And you're like, that stuff sucks. I don't ever want to do that again. Everyone's lying. No one's doing it. Okay. We don't want to do that. Right. So between these two, if you have time to spend, we want to work with people who want to sell already, or they're on market. That gives us the idea that, we already know these people want to sell. So what would make the most sense? If we're trying to build a trench, we're trying to build a really deep well here for our business that we can always go back to for more business in the future. What makes the most sense to spend our time to do? Should we spend our time doing deals with real estate agents, or should we do our time doing deals with homeowners? Put in the chat. What do you guys think? What should we be spending our most time with? And guys, by the way, as we go through this, I want to go ahead and send this over your way, that if you want to talk more about the strategy that makes sense for you and your business, because we're going through a lot of stuff here and it's very fast, I'm going to give you a Calendly link for you to book a call with your boy, me. No one else, but with me. And legit, you are going to have a conversation with me. So I'm going to put it in the chat. So as we go through this, if you guys want to go ahead and do the times are probably going to book out really fast, just letting you guys know. In all honesty, because I put like 2 or 3 hours on my calendar every day for these types of calls. But if you guys want to talk strategy, then you need to use this link, okay? Because we're going through a lot. And I want to make sure that you understand the specific strategy for you and your business and where you're at. So as we've gone through inbound specialists and we've gone through outbound specialists, and now we're on Creative Ninja, and you're like, well, Matt, what do I need to do? Use this link. You are legit talking to me. You're not talking to anybody else. You're talking to me. Okay. So there you go. Now, getting through this, I love the comments. Carl, thank you. Pedro, thank you. Pierre, thank you. Cynthia, yes. We should spend our time working with agents. Okay. Nothing wrong with working with homeowners. There's deals to be had with homeowners. But why in the world would we spend our time talking to agents and wholesalers? Why does that make the most sense? And guys, if I book out too quick and you don't see a time for next week, just email me, matt@highachiever.com. I might be able to get you in sooner. Okay. I'll put it in the chat there, matt@highachiever.com. But so the reason why we go after agents and wholesalers instead of homeowners is the ability to get return business. Okay. Exactly. Thank you, David. Exactly. Repeat business is the key to this. It's the reason why we do it. Okay. Right. Yep. That's their whole business. So they're motivated to have deals. Exactly. Their whole job is to do deals. So to make sure this is a good strategy for you guys, again, use that Calendly link. And if I book out, use my email. but we want to do deals. Thank you guys I see a lot of you guys just hopping in. So that's the reason why I said that. But agents and wholesalers bring return business. Homeowners, the likelihood of me doing deals with them or doing a creative deal or cash or whatever is typically I'll do like one deal in the lifetime of working with that person. Every now and then, of course, if we do right by them and they love the process, maybe they'll refer some business down the road. But the likelihood of me buying a property from a homeowner at a steep discount or on great creative terms is probably once, unless they have a package of properties, but typically it's one time. But with agents and wholesalers, there's no reason to think that you can't do at least 3 to 5 deals per relationship if you do it right? Maybe even more. Maybe they'd bring 4 deals a year to you. Guys, and guess what? All of that, any recurring business is free. It's much easier to take care of your customers than try to go find a new one, right? So if we have an agent that we've already built a relationship with, it makes way more sense for me to take care of that one than go try to build 10 more. I want to take care of the people in our world. So that is the idea here behind this Creative Ninja approach. So the first thing that you do with the Creative Ninja approach, Cynthia, a lot of you guys know this one very, very, very well. We're looking for opportunities starting with on market, and we call agents that have listings that have been on the market, for at least 45 days. Why do I do that? Well, the thing that you're going to find here, the longer they stay on market, the less options that they have. Okay. The more they stay on the market, the less options they're going to have. Okay. So 45 days gives us the idea. And by the time I end up talking to them at the 45-day mark, they probably already got someone who offered subject to. They probably already had, just like Michael Cortez said here, I spoke to an agent for a listing 235 days on the market. Negative equity, said sub 2 won't work. The only way sub 2 wouldn't work for that situation is if the interest rate is too high and the property doesn't cash flow, right? So just like this, all we're finding is the properties that are sitting on market for at least 45 days. Okay. I'm going to hit you with another one here. And they have maximum 15% equity. Okay. They've been sitting on market at least 45 days and they have maximum 15% equity. Now, if you guys want an extra filter that you want to add on is last sale date being April 2022. Okay. Why would I care about last sale date being April 2022? Why do you guys think that is? Because properties that were purchased after April of 2022, right? Pro tip. Filter stacking. Exactly. We're adding this stuff in. So properties that were purchased after April 2022, the rates were still good. Exactly. The rates were still good in April of 2022. Starting in the summer of 2022 and basically the whole of 2023, we're coming up on 2 years of interest rates just being extremely, in the grand scheme of things, maybe they're not extremely high, but they're high enough to basically kill all cash flow because the prices never really came down that much. They've come down a little bit, but not enough to justify the hike in interest rates. So when properties have a high interest rate, they're not going to cash flow. So if you want to do wholesale deals, and specifically you want to do creative wholesale deals, the properties have to cash flow. If they do not, your assignment fee is going to be like $2,000. Maybe if someone wants to buy it and try to do a wraparound mortgage. Very few people. So if you're looking for the perfect deals, they need to cash flow. So if you're filtering out by properties who are purchased in 2022, then that's your best bet. The problem is, yep, exactly. Thanks, Michael. The problem is a lot of times the properties that were purchased before 2022 have more than 15% equity, right? So, but if you find one that does, or you find some that do, then man, subject to would be an amazing opportunity because you're going to get a good interest rate. And that means the properties could potentially cash flow. Okay. If you guys want to understand more about the creative deal structuring to make sure you have an assignable, wholesalable deal, then you need to come to next Saturday's training. And I'm going to show you everything on creative deal structuring. Okay. So this is about lead gen. So this is the filters that you want to use for your lead gen on the creative side. They have low equity and they probably have a good interest rate. If they don't have a good interest rate, even with low to negative equity, you can't do anything with the deal. Okay. Unless you're in the Midwest. So if we're talking about how do you find 15% equity? That's perfect. I'm going to show you guys right now. Where do you go to get this list? You will go to batch leads. So again, guys, I don't use batch leads to pull data. Do not use it. Skip Matrix has way better data, period. Somebody can fight me on it, but they just do. But I use batch leads to pull my list, right? And if you go to batch leads /no fluff, you will get a free week trial where you can pull 1,000 properties and you get half off first month. And what that does is, of course, that's my affiliate link and it supports what we do here. So that's how you can support what we do. I don't have anything to sell you, but if you want to pull your list, go to batch leads, batchleads.io/no fluff to go pull your list. Batch leads, you can filter all these things. Thank you, Michael. Exactly. Batch or prop stream. I typically use batch just because I've just used it for so long, but prop stream's pretty solid too. But I don't have a code for that one. So if you guys want to support, go to batch. If we actually use it though. So batchleads.io is where I go pull a list. I use these filters. You'll circle off the area you want to go, and then you use these filters to go find your properties. You're typically going to find somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 150 properties per market, depending on how big the market is, right? PropWire, I think is free, Carl. Pretty sure. Thank you, Pedro, for putting that in. So yeah, I think PropWire is free, but I don't currently use them, so I can't speak on it. But that is how you go about pulling your list. Now, organizing that and calling the agents, you want to make sure your phone numbers are good and make sure you're calling the right people. But that's the move. That's how we how we pull our list. Now, with that, after you pull it, you're going to find that this is a method that you can use in any market. You can do this across the country. Okay. That's what you want to think about when it comes to creative wholesaling. It doesn't matter about staying in your backyard. You're not going to have a ton of properties in your market that fit this criteria. So you end up having to branch out and go to multiple markets much faster because you're not calling every homeowner. You're only calling homeowners that are on market that fit this criteria. Does that make sense? So when it comes to the perfect market, who here wants to know the perfect market to do creative wholesaling in? Give me a heck yes in the chat if you want to know the perfect market to do creative wholesaling in. Just a heck yeah, come on. Okay, that's longer data lag. Thanks, Pierre. Appreciate that. Let's go. Carl says me. Give me a heck yeah in the chat. Come on, y'all. Come on. Okay, perfect. The best market to do creative wholesaling in is going to be, let's put a star here, Midwest markets. You will get your biggest assignment fees here. You'll get typically the deals are put together a little bit easier. Why is that? Midwest markets are the best because these properties are not known in any markets where this kind of fits, okay? Appreciation, cash flow. So a lot of people buy rental properties in Phoenix, not for cash flow because they do not cash flow well, but they buy it because they know the property values are probably going to go up. But for creative wholesaling, the properties are not typically known year over year to appreciate a ton. They do some. That's just life. And then with inflation, property values are going to go up over time, but they're not known to appreciate a ton. Like a $120,000 property in Indianapolis is never going to be worth $400,000, or it may just be like 100 years before that happens. They're not known for appreciation, but they are definitely known for cash flow. So if we said the best creative deals, cash flow, if you want to wholesale a creative deal, it needs to cash flow, then you got to go to markets that is known to cash flow. Okay. Because guess what? Even higher interest rates in Midwest markets, Detroit would work, Carl, 100%, because those properties don't appreciate that much. Okay. Because these markets, like even high interest rates don't kill cash flow. So there's still investors to this day that do the BRRRR strategy, which is the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat strategy. There's people who still do that in Midwest markets and the properties still cash flow, even at like 8% interest, 8.5% interest. Okay. These are typically your best deals to do creative on, right? To do seller finance or subject to, because even a 6% interest rate on a sub 2 deal in Indianapolis, in Kansas City, Missouri, in St. Louis, Missouri, in Detroit, Michigan, in Omaha, Nebraska. You guys get where I'm going here. These markets, Birmingham, Alabama, they're even the high interest rate, the property's still going to cash flow, right? Yeah, military towns, you'll see a lot of sub 2 deals, but it doesn't mean they're the price point matches rents. So like some of these military towns, like Phoenix, and like there's on the west side, they have the Air Force Base. Property value is still $400,000 and it rents out for $2,000. So I would still just focus on places where the rents are very close to the 1% rule. Does anyone know what the 1% rule is? It almost doesn't exist anymore, but the closer you get to it, the better for your cash flow markets, right? The 1%, put an arrow here. The 1% rule basically means 1% rule means if a property is worth $200,000, okay, I'm going to say ARV, then the rents would be close to 1% of that, which would be $2,000. Okay. So the property is worth $1,200. It rents out for $1,200, right? Rent to price ratio. Exactly. All right. So like, for example, I bought a property in Memphis, Tennessee. Came from Stephen and Sarah Cabanas, two of my students. And this property here, I'm just going to draw a little box and a house. This property I purchased for $95,000. Okay. And I actually bought it via subject to. Okay. And the subject to debt was they owed roughly, give you guys the numbers on it. They owed roughly 87,000 that I took over sub to. Okay. And then I gave the seller $5,000 to seller, and I gave $3,000 to agent. And the cool thing about this mortgage that I bought subject to, it was at 5% interest. It was actually like 5.25. But why the heck would I want to do a 5.25% interest rate? I would never be able to do this on a $500,000 house. But because the house was only worth 95 and it was a nice house for the area, I bought it sub 2. Their PITI was $652 per month. Okay. And the rents on this property, $95,000 property, is $1,150 per month. You see what we're doing here? This little $95,000 house cash flows better than some of these people's $400,000 houses that have more debt. It's the reason why these deals work. Okay. So these little cheap houses, man, there's power in these things, even at higher interest rates. It only cost me $8,000 to buy a house that cash flows a little over $500. Well, right at $500 a month, right? So pretty cool. And you get all the other benefits of depreciation, all that other good stuff. So this is what we're looking for. If you are looking to creative wholesale, I would recommend this strategy here by going on market, pulling a list, calling agents that have low equity, structuring deals that look just like this. Because guess what? I could have signed this deal and probably made $10,000 too. But I would do this because not only would it help me assign deals and make some consistent income, because the cool thing about these types of deals, it's all numbers, right? Because the numbers equals wholesale fee. Because normally we're buying move-in ready properties. I'm not worried about the condition of the property. So if I just make sure my numbers are right, I'm going to have a great assignable deal. So not only am I putting deals together that I could wholesale and make $10,000 or so per deal, like in some of you guys, like one of these deals per month would be life-changing. If you just did one deal a month where you made $8,000 to $10,000 on the deal, that was absolutely free, right? It was absolutely free. $8,000 to $10,000 a month into putting one of these deals together. And guys, it is so stinking simple to put one of these deals together once you understand how the stuff works. And again, this reason why we have and do what we do. Man, that's $8,000 to $10,000 a month. It didn't cost you anything. Okay. You're literally just calling the agent. You pick up your phone and you call these people. Now we have our students using a CRM to help them organize their leads and stuff. But you in essence could just pull this list, keep it on a spreadsheet and call them one by one, right? But it takes time to get good at this stuff for sure. And you want to stay in Midwest markets that will determine your wholesale fees. So the whole goal behind all of this is not only are you putting together wholesale fees, you also create a business that is generating these deals for you. So you can buy one and getting to the point where you've wholesaled 2 or 3 of these a month, or maybe you're making consistently $20,000, right? And you start stacking some money away. So that way you can buy a deal every other month. Like right now, how crazy, like how far-fetched is it for you to buy 8 properties this year, right? Or maybe your goal has been, man, I want to buy 3 rentals this year. How many years has that been the goal? Or like, I want to buy 5 properties this year. How realistic really is it? We're now, it's March 9th. We're 3 months into the year, right? We're 3 months into the year. And maybe your goal for this year is like, I want to buy a couple rental properties. We're already a quarter in. Is it realistic that that's going to happen this year? This strategy makes it actually realistic because you're finding the best deals. You want to find a way to keep them after you get your money right. Now, look, I assigned probably my first 60 plus subject to deals because I needed money. My wife said we had a baby on the way and I'm like, all right, great. I literally went from having negative money in my bank account to actually doing these deals. I needed the money. But now once I got my money right, it's like, okay, well, going back, I know how to buy the best deals. There you go. David says, I need 4 to get caught up on bills. Well, come on, man. And that's the best part about this. You don't need to spend any money. You don't spend any money. Okay. So that's your creative deal approach. That's your creative ninja. All right. So the fun part about this is this strategy, reaching out to agents, pulling your list and calling them. You can apply points of leverage. You guys can hire VAs to make these phone calls. If you're like, I don't want them to have that initial conversation. And guys, by the way, if you want more information about the strategy, I had a course that I've been giving away for a while. It's called Agent Mastery. For just being here, I'll shoot you guys an email. Look for an email once we get off of this. This is free. It's a whole course on working with agents on creative. And inside of there, I have like all my scripts. I have the entire process, the step-by-step, all the ways of actually working these leads. Just make sure you get Agent Mastery. Okay. Go watch those videos. It'll be a big help. But that's the script and how you go about doing it. All right. So we'll send that to you via email. Put it via email. So if you guys ask, like, how do I get it? Just look on the notes here. Get it via email. Okay. So I'll send that out to you guys when we finish. But that is the method of going and doing your agent strategy via being a creative ninja. The next piece, the fourth and final icon, pairs really, really, really well. So again, guys, if you want to apply, and have a VA, just call these agents and use the script. 100% you can do that. Steven and Sarah, that's how they got started. They were trying to get going. They were doing all them calls themselves and they didn't get any traction. And within 1 week of putting a VA in place, they actually got their first deal, I think 2 weeks after that. So a VA can do this. And again, guys, if you want a VA or have that conversation, you're going to need to email me, matt@highachiever.com. But you can start this without anything. And I tell my students this all the time. You don't need a VA to get going. A VA is just going to help amplify your efforts and get you more leads. That's it. Okay. But if you need a VA, go there, send me an email, matt@highachiever.com. I will help you get a VA. But nonetheless, guys, if you feel like you are a creative ninja and you want to go through the Agent Mastery course, it is free. I'll send it via email. If you want to break it down more specifically to you and your constraints in your life and your business, then you need to use this link to hop on a call with me. Okay. I actually made a cheat sheet for every one of these strategies. So I have like pros and cons, and here's the steps behind inbound specialist. So this inbound specialist, I made a cheat sheet for this one. If you feel like this is what you are, I made a cheat sheet for outbound specialist. If this is feel like what you are, and I made one for creative ninja. And I've also made one for the last one here. But if you want that sheet and you want the strategy itself, let's hop on a phone call. I will give it to you, but I want to make it sure it's specific to you and your business. I ain't selling you jack. Okay. I just want to make sure you have what you need. So use that link. And it's legit with me. You see, it says Matthew Beard. That's actually my calendar. So use that link. We'll hop on a call. And if you guys see that we're booked out for next week, there's probably a good chance by now that I am booked out for next week. Send me an email, matt@highachiever.com. I'll make sure that I get you in sooner. Okay. Now, the cold callers, yes, Michael, all the VAs that we have implemented on this, they're actually trained to call agents on creative. That's like our bread and butter that we train them on. They call for cash, but they also call creative. They're pre-trained on this and they're trained by us. So that's a big one. Okay, cool. So that is your creative ninja approach. Now, this last one actually pairs really, really, really well with that approach, okay, with the creative ninja approach. And this one is what we recently did on our no fluff. Thanks, Max. Saw your email that I recently saw here. I'll send it out via. So everybody, if you signed up for this, I got your email. You will get the Agent Mastery course. I promise you. I'll give you a link to it. All you have to do once you get this, like in Kajabi, so you have to enter your information and you'll get the course. It's free. I ain't charging you nothing for it. It has everything on the creative approach right in there. It's going to help. Okay. So the next part of this, and the part that pairs really well, is what we recently did on our No Fluff Challenge. And this is, bear with me, and this is my attempt to make a cowboy. This is what we call our, we'll make that a cowboy hat. This is what we call our cash cowboys, okay, / cowgirls, right? So if you want to go this approach, this is made to be free. This is made for you to be able to go find cash wholesaling deals. I normally say this pairs really, really, really well with the creative approach because we're talking to the same bucket of leads, right? The first two approaches I gave you up here were more like, hey, we're talking to homeowners directly. We're talking to the same bucket of people. We said agents and wholesalers. We can do agent and wholesaler deals. We can do creative and we can do cash. We can say, hey, this is the segment of people, okay? Listing agents that are taking listings and the property is sitting on market and it doesn't have much equity and batch leads told me so and all that good stuff. I could take that bucket and I can pair it with my cash bucket and I can literally freaking take off with doing a matter of both. Now, inside of our CRM, like a lot of our students are now doing this, right? They're doing a mixture between creative and cash. We manage it in our CRM, but I'll kind of give you guys the process. And again, I have the cheat sheet for this. So if you miss anything here or the steps behind doing any of it, use my Calendly link. Let's get on a call. I'll give you the cheat sheet behind all of it. It's literally a PDF that I made. Okay. But with a cash cowboy / cowgirl approach, we are going to be focusing on agents. Okay. Agents. And I'm not even going to put wholesalers here because I specifically just focus on agents with this. They are our deal suppliers. They are finding people who are already wanting to sell their property. And a lot of times these listings are better fit for, they're better fit for not actually put on the market, right? I've had clients in the past when I was an agent, that was my full-time thing I was doing, that it didn't make sense for me to put the property on market. They didn't want to do any showings, or I knew it wasn't going to show well because it smelled like cat pee or whatever. It's like this property needs to be sold to a very specific pocket of buyers. Let me see if I can get it sold before even having to put it on market for you. That happens a lot. So that's what we're using these agents to do. So when we look at these kind of deals that we reach out to these agents and we ask, we want to like narrow down our focus. Okay. Because we could call in any given market, like in Phoenix, there are over, sorry, not, why do I keep doing a dollar sign? There are over 400,000 licensed agents, right? 400,000 licensed agents. And I told you guys earlier when it came to direct to seller, we can't call everybody. I told you the magic is in calling list and being able to call it multiple times. Like, I can't call this list, right? That's impossible. It would take me forever. But that also includes, like you guys saw like unicorn property and unicorn agents, and you guys may have heard that before. I believe every agent is a unicorn. Every agent who wants to do business or in business right now, I want to build a relationship with. You don't need to be a mythical creature because that just makes it seem like it's impossible. Because if you get a relationship with an agent that is like, oh, you're like one of the more special people I've ever talked to, that just like subconsciously tells yourself like, this isn't normal and I'm never going to find another person like this. There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of these people who want to be doing deals, right? Yep. And again, Sean, perfect. And thousands new getting the license every single month, right? So we want to work with agents that are doing business that we can see like they're already literally like this probably isn't a side job or a hobby for them. They're at least part-time and they're doing deals. I want to know those people. So what I do for that is I go in and I use batch leads. Okay. Again, guys, if you need the batch leads code is batchleads.io/no fluff. So that way you can get a free week and you're half off your first month. You'll use batch leads. You will pull this list. And what I like to do is I like to pull a couple. These are my filters. I'm going to start them off for you guys. I pull single family residential. Okay. Obviously I work with single family homes and I want to do right around median price point listings. So why do I do that? I want to work with agents that are taking listings around the price point of properties that I can wholesale. Like if you go reverse wholesale, which basically means you start with the buyer first, every buyer is going to pay a premium price for properties that stay affordable. Okay. If you look at the greater market, how many people are buying luxury properties? How many people can afford to pay the mortgages, the interest rates on a property that's worth $1 million? How many people you guys think? The top 1%, right? The top 1% of people can buy those properties. Well, I don't want to just have to do very little business with the top 1%. Not to say there's not money to be made there. There certainly is, but it's a very niche approach. Okay. Where you're going to find your buyers who have the most money and abundance of them so you can create bidding wars and get the most amount of money for your deals is by staying around the median price point. Because that's where people are like, oh, well, in any greater market, the median price point is established by the regular homeowner, the homeowner with their family moving into their first property, first-time homeowners, or maybe it's their second home purchase, but that is normally right around the median price point, okay? So we want to be able to get deals that are worth right around that amount. So if I'm going to be filtering out the agents, I don't want to call all 400,000 of them. I want to call agents that are taking single family listings that are around the median price point, okay? That's going to make your list a lot smaller, okay? And sorry, I should also say they have listings that are either active or pending. Okay. So we know that they currently have doing business, whether that be their parents' home or whatever. I don't really know, but all this does is like it shrinks my list down so I can be narrowed and focused. But they have active listings that are either active or pending. It's right around median price point, single family residential. Now, the next thing that you could add, and this is discretionary to your list. Okay. I'm giving you guys the filters here. The next thing you can add that is discretionary is non-LLC owned, which is also known as individually owned. Okay. The reason why I would do this in the beginning to make my list smaller is I'm working with agents that are just representing normal homeowners. Now, if I pulled agents that are representing LLC, sure, I can find an agent that's representing a fix and flipper that may just wants to offload their property, or the thought process there is like, oh, they're representing LLCs. So maybe they're already finding investment properties for their LLC people they're representing. So maybe they're used to this kind of business. But with that, they probably already have a lot of established relationships. I'd rather work with people that are working with individually owned properties because that's normally where the best deals are found. Okay. It also eliminates your hedge fund buyers, as well as like OfferPad, Open Door, depending on your market. It'll eliminate people who just work for those companies, okay? Which will make your list even smaller. But this is discretionary if you want to add this one or not. And the last thing that you could add that's discretionary is listed below market, okay? So in your filters in batch, it'll give you that to see like, hey, this property is actually listed for less than what we think it's worth, okay? you can add that one and make your list a little bit smaller. So right now, I know that list in Phoenix, I just pulled it yesterday, is 2,210 properties, which is 2,210 agents. Now, this strategy is really geared towards, this is the big one, I don't care about the property. I care about the agent, okay? I am not calling to say, hey, just calling you about your listing there on 123 Main Street. With your Creative Ninja approach, you are definitely calling about a specific property, right? That you can fit and maybe work something creative on subject to. But with this strategy, you are not. This strategy, you are simply calling and trying to say, hey, and by the way, guys, same thing. I created a whole course that is absolutely free that is called No Fluff Essentials. We were going to charge $300 for this, but I told David that we're not charging anything for it and it's going to be free. I put this together and this is all about this approach. So for you guys being here, I'm going to give it to you for free via email. So you'll have both. Okay. I told you I wasn't going to say nothing. So free via email for being here. So No Fluff Essentials breaks down this approach when it comes to cash deals with agents. I have my script in there that our VA says. So I have all my VAs make these phone calls. Now the difference between Creative Ninja and your cash cowboy approach / cowgirl approach is going to be there's more calls that has to be had on this strategy here than it does over on the creative approach. The creative approach, I can work a list of like 100 properties and probably get a deal in there. This one, I'm going to need to make more phone calls, but I'm building relationships, right? So again, going back to the point of leverage, the whole goal behind all of this, if I do it right, I'm using my time or I'm leveraging a VA's time. The little bit of money that I'm going to spend is probably on, the only thing that I use, guys, is batch leads in my CRM. So I put money aside for my CRM and put money for batch leads. That's it. And I'm building up this one rather fast because this is the biggest one. If you have enough relationships, it's impossible to fail. Like what if you had so many relationships with agents that you always have consistent deal flow that costs you no money? Your business is wildly profitable, right? That's that positive word of mouth that you're building actively with this approach. So No Fluff Essentials, I'll be giving that away. Okay. So I'll give that to you guys via email here today. And with this approach, all I am doing is I'm calling them and I'm saying, hey, don't know if you remember talking to me about a month ago, but we were discussing investment properties. You didn't have anything at the time, but I just wanted to circle back around to see if you had anything, right? Or just wanted to follow up. That's it. It's straight to the point. And a lot of times you'd be surprised how many people say they remember talking to you and you never talked to them a day in your life, right? This script actually came from a good friend of mine, Tyler Pugh. He put this together and it works really well for him. I was skeptical, guys. I was skeptical about this. I was skeptical about doing this cash approach. He showed me his bank account. He had over $900,000 in it from doing this. I'm like, all right, I'm sold. Let me give it a shot, right? Crazy how well this can work if you implement it and you have to do it at scale. So basically what you're going to need to look at with this approach is all about, and I'm going to put a star here. This approach is all about making offers. Okay. So what's going to happen here, and here's the stats behind this. Okay. What's going to happen is you're going to call and you need to make around 100 to 150 calls per day. Now, again, guys, these are free approaches. So what are we trading when we're not spending money? On the points of leverage, what are we trading when we're not spending money? We are trading our time when we're not spending any money. Okay. So someone has to make these phone calls. Someone does. And this is what I tell my students too. It's like, look, and a big part of the reason why people come and work with us is just for accountability behind just doing the task. Someone's got to make these phone calls and it's got to become unreasonable for you not to get a deal. If you do not do the things, the fundamentals with your time, you are not going to get any deals, period. Right. But 100 to 150 phone calls, that's bare minimum. Okay. If you do that per day, what's going to end up happening is we organize all of our agents. You guys will see in No Fluff Essentials how we organize our agents, okay, inside of our CRM. But you'll see in there that we organize all of our agents on a tiered system, okay? If they don't have anything for me, I want to organize that person and make sure I follow up with them in the future. If they do have something, which will happen, if you have anywhere from 100 150 calls a day, you'll have roughly 30 to 40 conversations. But realistically, you're going to probably have 4 new properties per day. Okay. 4 new properties per day is our goal. And it's going to take you right around, and especially being new, this is what I want you to bank on. It's going to take you 40 to 50 properties to get a deal. Okay. So that means if you do this, you hit these numbers every day, it'd probably take you about 10 to 15 days to get a deal. How great would it be? How amazing would it be if you knew what you were working on today was definitely going to get you a deal in 2 weeks? Give me a heck yes in the chat if you worked on something today and you knew in 2 weeks you're going to make 10 grand. Would you do the work today to do that? Probably be a heck yeah, for sure. But the problem is we act like we're not confident in that, right? And this is why self-belief is so important. And like, this is what we try to do with our students and inside of our communities and stuff. I want you guys to believe that this is possible, because the reason why you're not doing this, and a lot of you guys that are watching here today, you'll just take this and be like, all right, cool, I know what I should do. But come Monday, you won't do it. Or this, you could do this today if you wanted to. And in 2 weeks, you won't have a deal. And you're like, man, none of this stuff works. Your actions are saying you don't believe in yourself. If you believe that you can do this and you can believe you can do this, all this is, again, guys, all this is a numbers game. Okay. We're going to make an offer on every one of these properties, and we're going to have 39 people tell us no. We're going to have 49 people tell us no. That's too low. But we're going to have one person tell us yes. And that's how we get our deal, right? That is how this system works with making this. So the cool thing is you can have a VA make these phone calls. You can have the property sent over to you. You start sending out your offers, and lo and behold, you start working leads. And lo and behold, you start having something come through the pipeline, right? And 100%, I saw a question up here a minute ago. It said, Eric, I think you said, yeah, can you do this via SMS? You can, but two-factor text message opt-in is important. You're going to get marked spam pretty quickly. I don't recommend leading with the text message. I recommend leading either with a phone call or you lead in with a ringless voicemail. We talked about this yesterday on our boot camp. We literally, oh, by the way, we just finished our first boot camp ever in the mentorship. It was so much fun. Corey, was it good? I see you in here, Corey. Hopefully, like all we did this week was like go back to the basics. I went through yesterday, like an actual workflow that you can do to reach out to agents. And I recommend doing a ringless voicemail first, because you can do basically what you're going to say on that ringless voicemail. Thank you, Corey. You're the man. So that's what I recommend to you guys. So I'm an open book. That's what we do. Okay. So 100 to 150 calls a day, should be looking at 40 properties a day, 40 to 50 properties per deal. So what this is going to sound like is you're going to have 20 to 30 people a day tell you no, don't have anything. 20, 30 people a day saying, no, don't call me again. But then you're going to have 4 people per day saying, like, yeah, I have something, I'll send it over to you. And then what that's going to look like is you're going to underwrite these deals, and you're going to find that 39 or 49 of them do not work, but one out of 50 do. And as you get better, this number will get better too. As you get better, this will probably end up turning into somewhere around 20 to 25, right? And then as you educate your agents and your agent partners that are sending you opportunities, as they understand your buy box, this will actually go down significantly to right around 10 to 15, because people are sending you deals that you actually can buy. But it takes time to get there. And this is what that looks like. And on a daily basis, it means rejection. So when you have people telling you no, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just, I do it. That comes with the territory. If you want to make 10 grand in 2 weeks, you need to get told no a lot. Cool. Is everybody going to say, are we all here? You guys following me here? This is how you run this business. This is how you make this thing work. So I want you to know, when you do this stuff, you are working on the right things. And if it's hard, that means you're working on the right things. If you're wondering why it's not working out and you see all these people flashing checks, guys, I could probably say 95% of people flashing checks aren't doing as well as you think they are, number one. But also, number two, it takes time, and it is not easy. It is simple. It is very simple, but it is not easy. Okay. So that is our cash cowboy / cowgirl approach. We go about reaching out to on-market opportunities. We reach out to agents that are taking listings. I'm not calling about the listing itself. I'm calling about the agent. And what you're going to find, you put yourself in a position to have these types of numbers. You're going to run into exactly what Mr. Chris Cruz ran into this morning, which is a property he sent over to me that came over from one of his real estate connections. Oh my gosh, not an arrow. I'm trying to draw a house here, iPad. Sent me this house. It's over on the East Coast. And basically, this property, if I was going to recommend anything to you guys, your off-market opportunity is going to be better than on-market. If you plan on wholesaling on-market deals, you need, that's right, Corey, if everyone do it. If you're going to, I would recommend off-market. If you're going to do on-market, you're going to need them so stinking cheap, because even if it was discounted, let's just say the property's worth 300 and they got it listed for 180. You can't offer 180 because any other person can go offer 180. Any other fix and flipper can go offer that. And they're probably not gonna get that number anyways. You probably need that property for like 120. So that way you can go take it to one of your investors for 140. Because if you go try to get that property that's worth 300 at 150, and you go take it to one of your fix and flip partners, say, hey, I got a property here for you for 170. They're gonna be like, no, I need it for much cheaper. Okay. So just know, if you're gonna work on market, you need it cheap, but off market's the way to go if you can get these deals done. So he brought me an off market deal. The numbers were, they were asking 175. Okay. And this is just a straight cash deal, and ARV of this property is $230,000. Now, the fun thing about this property is it needs no work, as in it needs no repairs, right? And they wanted to sell within the next 2 weeks, and they needed a post possession. So you guys know, in any of these deals, there's always two pieces to every deal. When a deal comes in, you either have price or you have terms, right? That's it. Price and terms. So if the seller get their terms, means like, hey, we're not going to do any work. Luckily, this property didn't need any work. We need a post possession, meaning I need to stay for 2 weeks after we close, right? But this is what I need to do. If you can match these terms, we'll sell the property to you. Great. As an investor, I want my price, right? So do you think I can do a wholesale deal with these numbers, guys? Do you think we can do a wholesale deal with these numbers? Asking 175, property's worth 230. The answer is a big heck no. I cannot do this deal with these numbers. I need the properties cheap, okay? Yep. And Tim, you assign these deals. When it comes to this cash approach, this is for, if you guys are looking to do bigger wholesale assignment fees, this is the reason why I say it pairs really well with the Creative Ninja approach, with the cash approach. That way you're picking up creative deals that you may want to buy in the future, but you can still wholesale them while also getting bigger rips. Because your creative deals, your normal wholesale fee is like 8 to 10 grand. These cash deals, your average wholesale fee is about 18 grand. So it's a little over double your assignment fee on your cash deals. But that way you can have the best of both worlds. Okay, great question, Tim. Thanks for that one. So this is not a deal. I need this thing cheaper. So I can't, even if I wanted to take this down and resell it, it would be very little money in this, and I would be risking a lot to do that, right? Even though it doesn't need any work. So don't be afraid to, and again, this is not, you can do lease options and stuff like that, Carl, but this is a cash approach. We're going straight in for cash. Don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to give a low offer. So when you guys get the No Fluff Essentials course and you'll watch those videos, you'll see how to properly present a lower offer to your agent partner. Because this came through from a real estate agent saying, hey, my client needs to sell this property. This is what they're looking to do. They're looking for 175. Well, I don't want to be like, man, that's too much money. I can't do it, right? What you want to do is there's a song and dance behind presenting low numbers. Every property that comes through, you want to make your offer, because I said it takes 50 of them to get a deal. So shoot your shot. But there's a way to go about doing it. So normally we go like, look, I'd love to give you as much as possible. I think you're being a wonderful agent trying to get your client as much as possible. So let's try to make a win-win scenario here. But at the end of the day, it's really just, it's me and you versus like what the underwriting team says is the numbers. And they were coming back a lot lower than what you guys were looking for. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it's worth, I don't want to make you an offer and you put me in the box of like a low ball investor, right? All I'm trying to do is like, look, my relationship with you is way more important than this property is. So I want you to know when I give you an offer, it's the best that I can do. And, when I buy something like this, I just got to be able to make some money. Does that make sense? Right. So you have these conversations with the agents. Honestly, you don't just go shoot out blind offers way less than the asking price. It's the quickest way for an agent to never do a deal with you. Right. But you have an honest conversation with them and see if it's even worth it. So what we did on this one was I told Chris we needed to buy this thing at no more than 145 to 150 because I'd be willing to do the deal, buy it and resell it, put it on market for around that price. So what he did, and Chris went in, Chris is one of my students, by the way. He went in and made his offer and he anchored him and said, look, we can give you 135 to 140 after he had an honest conversation saying, look, we can't pay 170, but our offer is going to be coming in somewhere around 135 to 140 to do this. And after obviously being cordial with doing this, right? So Michael, great question. I'll answer this in just a second. So after being cordial with this approach, he presented these numbers, say, look, I don't know if it's worth it, but here's what we could do. The agent ended up was like, you know what? Thank you for that. To be honest with you, if you can cover all the closing costs and all the fees, I'm pretty sure they'll accept this number, 140. So it's it's less than that I wanted to pay. So that's even better. And we leave ourselves a lot of room to make this deal work. So just like that, agent partner, he didn't even need to present our offer yet. He kind of knew where the sellers were at. And he had a really good feeling. Like, look, if you put this number here, I think I can probably make this thing work. But that's the reason why we build the relationships with the agent, because we want them to go to bat for us, because we're never going to be the highest bidder. We're not going to pay more than anyone else, but we give them numbers that we can actually do. And you best believe as an agent, it is so nice to have a buyer that that's going to perform. They're not going to pay more than everybody else, but they're going to close. And that's the biggest secret here. So boom, just like that, using this approach, this created $90,000 in spread. Now, once I go to buy this and resell it, this deal projects to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $52,000 net profit from an agent conversation that he had literally 3 days ago. Okay. This is not rocket science, guys. It is so not. It's just a matter of doing the right things and knowing the approach. How cool would it be if you guys knew exactly what to do and you're like, all right, I had the script. I know what to say. I know how to do this thing. And I know I'm actually talking and focusing on the right stuff. This is going to lead me to making money. Like, there's power in that. So Michael, when you say, how do you get the agent to present a lowball number? Most won't. You do it this way. You present it this way. That's like, look, this is kind of the range that I would be in. Is it even worth it? They may say, yeah, honestly, it's not worth it. We got offers that are higher than that. And you could just be like, perfect. Well, keep me in mind for anything else that you have. And in those offers that are a little bit higher than me, if anything happens and falls through, like what I said still stands, it'll be here. So if that doesn't work out, give me a call. But in the meantime, like, we'll love to earn your business. Maybe I can follow up with you in about a month to see if you have anything else coming up, right? That's how you do it. You don't need to always present an offer in writing. We call them, and this is a part of the process. Again, you're going to learn all of this in here in this course. Like, you'll learn the approach. Just follow that script, follow that process. You'll get the end result. Okay. How cool is this, guys? How many of you guys who here feels like you're going to be doing the cash cowboy approach, cowgirl approach? Who here feels that way? Yep. Well, their commission is, sometimes we just pay them a flat fee. So this Kentucky deal that I'm telling you guys, this whole thing was all based around, if we pay 140, we give him his 2% commission on top. So that's how we negotiated it. So who here feels like maybe you do the cash cowboy approach or cowgirl approach, right? Sweet. Rick says yes. Love it. Who here feels like maybe you're going to be doing the creative ninja stuff? Are you a creative ninja going to be going about lead generation through on-market efforts with low equity properties? Love it. Maybe pair the two of these together so you can knock out both cash and creative because you're still going to be working agents. Love it. Carl says ninja. Let's go. How about the rest of you guys? How many of you guys feel like in here you're more like outbound specialists? You want to set up a cold calling system and call homeowners and do direct to seller? David says any approach. David, don't do any approach, please. Pick one. Your goal for today, an inbound specialist. Love it. Creative ninja or cowboy. Yes. Love it. The goal for me today for you guys, like having this training, is for you to have some clarity on what's out there so you can make a decision on what you can do with your time. The creative stuff, the basically free stuff, really, you're just using your time, and it's really easy to leverage other people's time to come help you, right? It's really easy to go get a VA that's been trained on doing this. And guys, if you want a VA, Matt@highachiever.com. We train them on this stuff. But nonetheless, like, you can spend your time doing this yourself and then scale into that. But like, you're at least spending your time on the right stuff and you're not spending a ton of money on lead generation. This is all on market. Let's go. Thank you, Esther. Sweet. A lot of you guys say both cash cowboy and cowgirls. So this is a training we're going to do every Saturday. How many of you guys got some value from this training here today? Can I get a heck yes? Did I deliver? And I told you earlier today, about 2 hours ago at 10 a.m. that I was going to deliver and give you guys everything you need when it comes to lead gen and looking at all the different things. Did I deliver? Did you guys get some value from today? Get a heck yeah? Come on. I had fun. You guys were popping off in the chat. This has been awesome. Well, every week, guys, we're turning the No Fluff Live, instead of doing 5 days in a row, to doing this on Saturdays. I want you guys to understand this. So when the time comes, we can maybe do deals together in the future. But even if we don't do any deals together and you end up doing deals with my students, that's equally as good for me. Please go do a deal with Corey. Go do a deal with Esther. Go do a deal with Sean here very soon. Go do a deal with Steven and Sarah. I just want you guys doing deals and making money, and we can all celebrate our wins together. Okay. I just want you doing deals, and I think there's a good chance we'll be able to do some together. Hopefully you got some value today that you can go implement this stuff. You can go make some money doing this stuff. Look for us every Saturday, bringing you more trainings, more knowledge, more education, only on things that are going to help you make money. I'm not going to spend time on things that's not going to help you do deals. I know we love hanging out and talking real estate. Trust me, I can spend all day. My wife hates going to real estate events with me because she's like, we're supposed to leave 2 hours ago. Trust me, we could talk forever about this stuff. But when we're on these trainings, I'm going to make sure we spend our time, just like the 2 hours we had here today, on specific things that's going to help you grow your business or get you to the next level. I appreciate you guys. If you want to connect with me, use that link. Send me an email, matt@highachiever.com. Hopefully you got value from this. Again, if you need to watch the recordings, you can go to the Facebook group to do so. I'm going to send you that cheat sheet if you book a call with me. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Thank you so much. There will be a replay, PG, if you go to the Facebook group, watch the recording. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on next Saturday's training, or hopefully, if you booked a call with me, I'll talk to you this week. See you next one, okay? Appreciate you guys.